I pulled into my driveway that Tuesday afternoon, exhausted from the airport chaos. My New York business trip had been canceled due to a massive snowstorm grounding all flights. As I climbed out of my car, I froze. A large moving truck sat parked on the street. My son, Travis, crouched at my front door with lockpicks in his hands, while his wife, Amber, stood watch. They both turned, faces draining of color. Travis stammered, "Dad, weren't you supposed to be gone for 2 weeks?" I stared at the truck's open back door, then reached for my phone. My hands trembled as I walked toward them. Travis dropped the lockpicks, and they clattered on my concrete porch. The sound echoed through the quiet suburban neighborhood like a gunshot. "What are you doing?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. Amber recovered first, plastering on that fake smile I'd never quite trusted. "Reginald, this isn't what it looks like. The lock was stuck, and we were just trying to help." "Help with what?" I pushed past them and used my own key to unlock the door. It opened smoothly, no sticking whatsoever. Inside my house, my heart sank. Boxes were stacked in the foyer. Moving blankets covered my furniture. Furniture dollies leaned against the wall. They'd been inside for hours, maybe all day. I walked through my home in a daze. Margaret's jewelry box sat open and empty on our bedroom dresser. The pearl necklace I'd given her for our 25th anniversary was gone. Our wedding photos had been removed from the hallway walls, leaving pale rectangles on the paint. In my home office, I found my father's antique mahogany desk partially disassembled, tools scattered across the floor. The small safe where I kept important documents had deep scratches around its lock. "You tried to break into my safe?" I turned to find them standing in the doorway. Travis wouldn't meet my eyes. Amber stepped forward, her voice taking on a syrupy, condescending tone. "We were taking what belongs to Travis. You promised him this house before Margaret died. She told Travis everything would be his. We're just claiming what's rightfully ours before you waste it all." The words hit me like a physical blow. "I never promised anything. Margaret never said that." "Yes, you did," Travis finally spoke, his voice weak. "Mom told me you both wanted me to have the house, that you were planning to move to Florida anyway." "That's a complete lie." Anger replaced my shock. "Your mother and I never discussed giving you this house. We built our life here. This is my home." I walked to the front door and held it open. "Get out, both of you. Now." Amber's expression hardened. "We're not leaving without what we came for." "Yes, you are. Or I'm calling the police." Travis looked between us, sweat beading on his forehead. "Dad, we really need this. I've been out of work for 8 months. Amber's pregnant. We're drowning in debt. You have so much, and we have nothing." My son's desperation cut through my anger for a moment. But then I looked at the boxes filled with Margaret's belongings, at the jewelry they'd stolen, at the violated safe. "So you decided to rob me?" "It's not robbery when it's family," Amber snapped. "Travis is your only child. Everything you have should be his anyway." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling the police." Travis grabbed Amber's arm. "Come on, let's go." She jerked away from him but started toward the door. As she passed me, she leaned close and whispered just loud enough for Travis to hear. "Don't worry, we'll get what we're owed." They climbed into their beat-up sedan and drove off, leaving the moving truck behind. I stood on my porch, watching them disappear down the street, my chest tight with betrayal. Once they were gone, I walked back inside and surveyed the damage. They'd been systematic. The good china from Margaret's grandmother was packed carefully in boxes. Silver candlesticks we'd received as wedding gifts were wrapped in newspaper. Photo albums, spanning 40 years, sat stacked by the door. They'd planned to take everything. I sat down heavily on my couch and called my old friend George Hartman, a lawyer who'd handled my business dealings when I ran my accounting firm. "George, it's Reginald. I need help. My son just tried to rob me." 2 days later, a process server knocked on my door. I signed for the thick envelope, my stomach churning as I read the legal documents inside. Travis was suing me. The lawsuit claimed elder financial abuse and undue influence. According to the petition, I was suffering from cognitive decline and making irrational financial decisions. Travis was requesting the court appoint him as my conservator to protect me from myself. The documents allege that Margaret, before her death from cancer 18 months ago, had expressed serious concerns about my mental state and wanted Travis to oversee our finances. Every word was a knife. None of it was true. I called George immediately. He came over within the hour, reading through the papers with increasing concern. "This is serious, Reginald. If a judge believes even part of this, you could lose control of your finances." "But it's all lies. I'm not declining. I'm not confused." "I believe you, but we need to prove it." George flipped through the attached declarations. They have statements from Travis, Amber, and Amber's mother, Diane. They claim they've personally witnessed you forgetting to pay bills, losing your keys repeatedly, getting confused about dates and appointments. None of that happened. George set down the papers and looked at me seriously. "Here's what worries me. This isn't thrown together. Someone's been planning this carefully." Over the next few days, I learned how carefully. My neighbor Susan mentioned that Travis had stopped by her house 3 weeks ago, asking if she'd noticed me seeming forgetful or confused. The mailman told me Travis had been collecting my mail for me, claiming I'd asked him to help. My doctor's office receptionist admitted Travis had called multiple times, supposedly concerned about my health. But the worst discovery came from my bank. The branch manager, Carol, called me in for a private meeting. "Mr. Wilkins, I need to tell you something. 3 weeks ago, a man claiming to be your son came in with a power of attorney document. He tried to access your accounts. What did you do?" We denied it. The document looked off. Our legal team reviewed it and found inconsistencies in the notarization. We flagged your accounts and tried to call you, but the phone number on file had been changed. Changed? By who? The system shows you called and changed it yourself, but now I'm wondering if that was actually you. It wasn't. Travis had been systematically setting me up. I hired Patricia Donnelly on George's recommendation. She was a fierce family law attorney in her mid-50s with a reputation for winning difficult cases. When she reviewed everything in her downtown office, her expression grew grimmer. "They're building a case that you're incompetent. We need to fight back hard. First, you'll get a complete medical evaluation from an independent doctor. We'll document your cognitive health. Second, we preserve all evidence of their attempted theft. Third, we investigate their finances and motivations. How long will this take? Months, probably. And Reginald, this is going to get worse before it gets better." She was right. That evening, Amber called from a blocked number. I almost didn't answer. "You can make this go away," she said without preamble. "Transfer the house deed to Travis's name. Give us access to half your investment accounts. Do that, and we drop the lawsuit." "That's extortion. That's family taking care of family. Think about it." She hung up. I underwent a complete neurological and psychological evaluation at the medical center downtown. The doctor, a neurologist named Helen Bradshaw, put me through hours of cognitive testing. Memory tests, problem-solving exercises, coordination assessments, interviews about my daily life and functioning. When the results came back, Dr. Bradshaw smiled. "Mr. Wilkins, your cognitive function is excellent. You're sharp as anyone half your age. I'll provide a detailed written report for your attorney." That should have been good news, but I felt hollow. My own son was trying to destroy me. The boy I'd raised alone after his mother, and I divorced when he was 5. The child I'd worked overtime for, sacrificed for, put through college. Where had I gone wrong? I couldn't sleep. Food tasted like cardboard. My blood pressure, which had been well controlled for years, started creeping up. Patricia's investigator, a former police detective named Carl Jennings, started digging into Travis and Amber's lives. What he found made terrible sense. Travis had been unemployed for 8 months after being fired from his sales job for poor performance. Their apartment was in a rough part of town, cramped and depressing. They were behind on rent by 3 months. Credit card debt totaled over $60,000. And Amber had a serious gambling problem, with regular visits to the local casino where she'd lost thousands. "Your son's drowning," Carl told me in Patricia's office, "and Amber's the anchor pulling him under." But sympathy for Travis warred with the betrayal. He was still doing this. He was still lying about me, spreading rumors, trying to steal everything I'd worked for. "There's more," Carl said. "Amber's been doing research on conservatorship laws. She's been in online forums discussing how to get control of a parent's assets. She knows exactly what she's doing." The smear campaign started 2 weeks later. I first noticed it when my phone buzzed with notifications. Travis had posted on social media about being raised by a neglectful, emotionally abusive father who cared more about money than his own son. The post included old photos from Travis's childhood. One showed him at age 7, sitting alone at his birthday party. The caption read, "My father couldn't even be bothered to show up." The truth was, I'd taken the photo. I'd thrown the entire party. I'd been there the whole time. Another photo showed teenage Travis with a black eye. "This is what happened when I disagreed with him," the caption claimed. The reality was, Travis had been hit by a baseball during a game. I'd spent 4 hours in the emergency room with him. Each post twisted reality into something dark and false, and people believed it. Comments poured in expressing sympathy for Travis and condemnation for me. Then Travis and Amber started calling people directly. My former business partner, Donald, called me, his voice uncomfortable. "Reginald," Travis contacted me. "He said some concerning things about your health. Said you've been having serious memory problems." "It's not true, Donald." I want to believe that, but he sounded genuinely worried. "Said you nearly left your stove on and started a fire." That never happened. After I hung up, I realized the damage was done. The seed of doubt was planted. Even if Donald believed me, he'd always wonder. My church group at First Methodist started acting strange. During Sunday coffee hour, conversations would stop when I approached. Sharon, who'd been my friend for a decade, made excuses to avoid talking. Walter, my golf buddy, for 15 years, suddenly had conflicts every time I suggested playing. The grocery store clerk asked if I was doing okay, with a pitying expression that made my skin crawl. A neighbor I barely knew mentioned hearing concerning things about my health. The isolation crushed me more than the lawsuit. I'd lived in this community for 40 years. Now I felt like a pariah. Patricia's investigator, Carl, uncovered the next blow. Someone had submitted a letter to the court, supposedly written by Margaret 3 months before she died. The handwriting looked like hers. The signature matched. In the letter, Margaret expressed fears about my declining mental state and asked Travis to watch over his father's finances after she was gone. "It's impossible," I told Patricia. "Margaret never wrote this." "I believe you. We're hiring a forensic document examiner." The expert, a woman named Linda Torres, who testified in dozens of fraud cases, examined the letter under magnification and with chemical analysis. After a week, she delivered her verdict. "It's forged, very skillfully, but forged. The paper is correct for the time period, but the ink shows signs of artificial aging. The handwriting is traced from genuine samples. The signature was likely transferred using a lightbox technique. Can you testify to this in court?" "Absolutely. But it will take several weeks to prepare a complete report with all supporting documentation." Several weeks we didn't have. The preliminary hearing was approaching fast. Then my identity got stolen. I discovered it when my credit card was declined at the pharmacy. The bank's fraud department called me about suspicious charges. $2,000 at an electronics store, $1,500 at a furniture outlet, $800 at a jewelry store. "We've frozen your card and are investigating," the fraud specialist said. "But Mr. Wilkins, someone also tried to open 3 new credit cards in your name. We blocked them, but you need to freeze your credit immediately." I spent an entire day on the phone with credit bureaus, banks, and the police filing reports. Someone had all my information: social security number, date of birth, mother's maiden name, everything. Carl investigated and found evidence pointing to Travis. The electronics store purchase was picked up at a location near Travis's apartment. The jewelry store had security footage showing Amber making the purchase. "Proving it in criminal court is difficult," Carl said, "but it adds to the pattern." The stress was destroying my health. My blood pressure medication needed adjustment. I wasn't sleeping more than 3 or 4 hours a night. My appetite disappeared, and I lost 15 pounds in a month. Then my health insurance got canceled. The notice arrived stating my coverage was terminated for non-payment, despite having autopay set up for 2 years. When I called the insurance company, they said someone had called to change my mailing address and payment information. My bills had been going to an address I'd never heard of. "I need my heart medication," I told the pharmacy tech. "It's urgent. Without insurance, it's $300. I paid it, then spent another day fighting through automated phone systems and bureaucratic red tape to restore my coverage. The stress finally caught up with me. I was in my kitchen making coffee when my chest tightened. Pain radiated down my left arm. The room spun. I managed to call 911 before collapsing. The ambulance arrived within 10 minutes. The paramedics found me on my kitchen floor, conscious but in severe distress. They rushed me to County General Hospital. Tests showed my blood pressure had spiked dangerously high. The emergency room doctor, a young woman named Emily Porter, kept me overnight for observation. "Mr. Wilkins, you're under severe stress. Your body can't sustain this. What's going on?" I told her everything. She listened, her expression sympathetic. "You need to take care of yourself. This legal battle isn't worth your life." But lying in that hospital bed, alone, staring at the ceiling, I realized I couldn't give up. Margaret wouldn't have wanted me to surrender to lies and manipulation. I'd spent my whole life building something, being honest, treating people fairly. I wouldn't let it end with me broken and defeated by my own son's greed. Patricia visited me the next morning before my discharge. "Carl found something. It's big." "What?" "A doctor named Raymond Foster has agreed to testify that you showed signs of dementia during a consultation 6 months ago. I've never met anyone named Raymond Foster." "I know, he's lying. But he's licensed, credentialed, and apparently willing to commit perjury for money. Carl found out he's been sanctioned before in another state for exactly this kind of false testimony. We're building evidence to discredit him, but Reginald, this is going to get ugly." I was discharged that afternoon, with new medications and strict orders to reduce stress. The irony wasn't lost on me. The preliminary hearing arrived 3 weeks later. I dressed carefully that morning in my best suit. The charcoal gray one Margaret had helped me pick out for our grandson's graduation. Then I remembered we never had a grandson. Travis and Amber never had children until now. The courthouse downtown was imposing, all marble and heavy wooden doors. Patricia met me outside, her expression serious. "Remember, stay calm no matter what they say. Don't react. Let me handle everything." The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Judge Martha Brennan, a stern woman in her 60s, presided from the bench. Travis and Amber sat at the plaintiff's table with their attorney, Douglas Crane. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe 40, with expensive clothes and slicked-back hair. The hearing began with routine matters, but then Douglas Crane stood and addressed the judge. "Your Honor, we have new evidence that demonstrates the urgent need for intervention. Dr. Raymond Foster has agreed to testify about his consultation with Mr. Wilkins 6 months ago." Patricia objected immediately. "Your Honor, we have no record of any such consultation." "The doctor will explain," Crane said smoothly. Dr. Foster took the stand. He was a nervous-looking man in his 50s with thinning hair and glasses. He described a consultation that never happened, claiming I'd come to his office complaining of memory problems and confusion. "In my professional opinion, Mr. Wilkins displayed clear signs of early-stage dementia," he testified. Patricia's cross-examination was brutal. She brought up his previous sanction, his reputation for questionable testimony, the lack of any appointment records or billing. But the damage was done. The judge looked concerned. Then Amber took the stand. She wore a modest dress and minimal makeup, looking young and vulnerable. Her hands rested on her slightly swollen belly as she spoke, her voice trembling with emotion. "I've been terrified to say this, but I have to protect my baby." Tears ran down her cheeks. "Reginald has been verbally abusive. He's said horrible things to me. Last month, during an argument, he grabbed my arm and squeezed so hard he left bruises." "Do you have photographs of these bruises?" Crane asked gently. "Yes." She produced several photos, showing a dark purple bruise on her forearm. I started to stand, to shout that it was a lie, but Patricia's hand on my arm stopped me. The testimony continued. Amber painted me as a violent, unstable man who posed a danger to everyone around him. She claimed I'd threatened her, followed her, made disturbing comments about harming her and the baby. Judge Brennan's expression grew more concerned with each claim. Travis testified next. He described a childhood of neglect and control, claiming I'd kicked him out of the house when he was 19 for no reason, that I'd always been cold and manipulative, caring only about money and appearances. "He's always held his wealth over my head," Travis said, his voice breaking. "Any time I needed help, he'd refuse unless I did exactly what he wanted. Now he's getting worse. He's paranoid, angry all the time. I'm genuinely afraid for him and for anyone around him." Crane presented text messages, shown on a large screen for the judge. They appeared to be from me, saying things like, "You'll regret crossing me, and I'll make sure you get nothing and stay away or you'll be sorry." I'd never sent those messages. They were either fabricated or taken wildly out of context from legitimate conversations twisted to look threatening. Judge Brennan called a recess. Patricia pulled me aside in the hallway. "They're good. They've prepared this well. It's all lies." "I know, but we need time to prove it. I'm going to request a continuance." When court resumed, Judge Brennan made her ruling. "Based on the testimony and evidence presented, I'm issuing a temporary restraining order. Mr. Wilkins, you are prohibited from contacting Travis Wilkins or Amber Wilkins directly. Furthermore, given the concerning nature of the allegations regarding your mental state and the potential for financial abuse, I'm ordering your bank accounts temporarily frozen pending further investigation." My heart stopped. "A temporary conservator, Howard Mills, will be appointed to oversee your finances. You'll have access to funds for necessary living expenses, but any major financial decisions will require approval. We'll reconvene in 60 days for a full hearing." The gavel fell. I sat frozen while the courtroom emptied. Everything I'd worked for, my entire life, was now in the hands of a court-appointed stranger. Patricia drove me home in silence. When we pulled into my driveway, she finally spoke. "Carl found something about Douglas Crane. He has a reputation for taking cases on contingency where he gets a percentage of any assets seized. This isn't about family for him, it's business. Can we use that? Maybe. We're also still investigating Amber's background. Carl thinks there's more there." That night, I sat alone in my house. Howard Mills, the temporary conservator, had already called to inform me I could access only $2,000 per month for expenses. My investments, worth $1.2 million, were locked. I couldn't sell anything, couldn't make any major purchases, couldn't even pay Patricia's legal bills without approval. I was a prisoner in my own life. I wandered through my house, looking at photos of Margaret, our wedding day, Travis as a baby, family vacations. Where had it all gone wrong? In our bedroom, I found Margaret's journal in her nightstand drawer. I'd never been able to bring myself to read it after she died. Now, I opened it to the last entries, written in her shaky handwriting during her final weeks. "I'm worried about Travis," one entry read. "He called again asking for money. When I said no, he got angry. He has such entitlement issues. I don't know where they came from. Reginald gave him everything." Another entry, 2 weeks before she died. "Reginald is so strong, so good. I know he'll be okay after I'm gone. I just hope Travis doesn't try to take advantage of him." I should have said something earlier, but I didn't want to believe my own son would be that way. Reading her words, I broke down completely. I sobbed alone in my bedroom, clutching her journal, feeling more lost and alone than I had since she died. But then, I read her final entry, written the day before her last hospital admission. "If you're reading this, my love, it means I'm gone. Don't give up. Don't let anyone take advantage of your kindness. You've always been too generous, too trusting. Protect yourself. Fight for what's right. I'm so proud of the man you are." I closed the journal and wiped my tears. Margaret was right. I couldn't give up. The next morning, I called Patricia with new determination. "I want to fight. No compromises. We go after them with everything." That's what I wanted to hear. Carl has some interesting findings. Carl came to my house that afternoon with a thick folder of documents and photographs. What he showed me changed everything. "I've been following Amber and doing deep background on her life," Carl explained. 3 days ago, I observed her meeting Douglas Crane at the Riverside Hotel downtown. They weren't having a business meeting. He showed me photographs. Amber and Douglas Crane embracing in the hotel parking lot, kissing, entering a room together. Hotel receipts showed they'd been meeting there twice a week for 2 months. "She's having an affair with your son's lawyer," Carl said. "That's why Travis got such an expensive attorney. Crane isn't being paid in money. Does Travis know? I don't think so. Watch his body language in the courtroom photos. He trusts Crane. He has no idea." Patricia leaned forward. "This is a huge conflict of interest. It could get the entire case thrown out and Crane disbarred." "There's more," Carl continued. "I did a nationwide background check on Amber. Her real name is Amber Louise Patterson. She's been married 3 times before Travis. The second marriage is interesting. He pulled out more documents. 7 years ago, Amber married a man named Harold Winters in Nevada. He was 73 years old, a retired engineer with significant assets. They were married for 8 months. Then Harold died suddenly. Heart attack, according to the death certificate. Amber inherited a substantial portion of his estate along with his adult children. Was there an investigation? Informal. Harold's children suspected something wasn't right, but nothing was ever proven. Amber walked away with approximately $300,000. My blood ran cold. She's done this before. It appears to be her pattern. She targets men with assets, usually through their vulnerable family members. She gets close, manipulates the situation, and walks away richer. Patricia started pacing. We need more. If we're going to expose her in court, we need ironclad evidence. I'm working on it, Carl said. I've also been looking into her gambling. She visits the Riverside Casino 3 to 4 times a week. I've got footage from casino security showing her at high-stakes poker tables. She's lost over $40,000 in the last 6 months. Where did that money come from? I asked. Credit cards mostly, all in Travis's name. The pieces were falling into place. Amber had targeted Travis because of me. She'd researched my financial situation, identified Travis as vulnerable due to his job loss and insecurity, and orchestrated this entire scheme. What about the pregnancy? I asked. Carl hesitated. That's where it gets complicated. She is pregnant, about 3 months along. But I managed to obtain medical records through legal channels. The timing is interesting. If Travis is the father, the conception date would be early April. But that's also exactly when her relationship with Douglas Crane started, based on the hotel records. The baby might not be Travis's. It's possible. Patricia's investigator also uncovered the forged letter situation. Linda Torres, the forensic document examiner, had completed her full report. The letter supposedly from Margaret was definitely fake, created using sophisticated forgery techniques that suggested professional involvement. Someone paid good money for that forgery, Patricia said. Probably Amber. It would have cost several $1,000s. We spent hours going through all the evidence. The affair, the previous husband's suspicious death, the gambling debts, the forged letter, the paid-off doctor, the pattern of manipulation and fraud. We can destroy their case, Patricia said, but timing is everything. We need to present this at the right moment for maximum impact. 2 days later, Travis and Amber made their boldest move yet. An emergency petition was filed claiming I'd become violent and erratic and needed immediate psychiatric evaluation. The petition included declarations from 3 people I'd never met, all claiming I'd threatened them or behaved dangerously. Patricia investigated and found all 3 had criminal records. One had been paid $500 to sign the declaration. The other 2 were friends of Amber's from the casino. They're desperate, Patricia said. They know we're digging, and they're trying to rush this through before we expose them. An emergency hearing was scheduled for the following week. If we lost, I could be involuntarily committed to a psychiatric facility for evaluation, potentially for weeks. During that time, Travis and Amber would have access to everything. Carl arranged a secret meeting with one of Travis's old friends, a man named Jeffrey Carson who'd known Travis since college. We met at a coffee shop in a different part of town. Jeffrey was reluctant at first, but eventually he opened up. Travis isn't a bad person, Mr. Wilkins. He's weak. Amber controls him completely. I tried to warn him when they first started dating, but he wouldn't listen. She's convinced him that you owe him everything, that you've been holding him back his whole life. Did he ever talk about this plan? Not directly. But about 6 months ago, he mentioned wanting to borrow money by selling some stuff from your house. Said you had so much you wouldn't even notice. I told him that was stealing. He got defensive, said Amber told him. It was okay because it would all be his eventually anyway. What about the lawsuit? Jeffrey's expression darkened. That's all Amber. Travis is terrified of her. He's in way over his head. Last time I saw him, he looked awful. Not sleeping, losing weight, constantly anxious. I think he knows this is wrong, but he's too scared to back out now. After Jeffrey left, I felt a strange mixture of anger and pity. My son was being manipulated, but he was still choosing to go along with it. He was still lying about me, letting Amber destroy my life. We need to force him to choose, I told Patricia. In court publicly. Make him decide between Amber and the truth. That's risky. He might choose her. Maybe. But it's the only way. Patricia spent the next few days preparing our counterattack. We organized all the evidence into binders. Photos of Amber and Douglas Crane, Harold Winter's death certificate and estate records, casino surveillance footage, bank records showing Travis's debts, the forensic analysis of the forged letter, Dr. Foster's disciplinary history. "We're going nuclear," Patricia said. "Once we present this, there's no going back." The night before the emergency hearing, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Travis as a little boy, how he'd climb into my lap and ask me to read him stories, how proud he'd been at his high school graduation when I'd cheered the loudest, how he'd cried in my arms when Margaret died. Where had that boy gone? The emergency psychiatric hearing was set for 9 in the morning. I spent the previous evening reviewing everything with Patricia one final time. We had a strategy, but it felt fragile. Around 8 that evening, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Travis standing on my porch, alone. He was swaying slightly. Against my better judgment, I opened the door. "Dad." His voice was thick, words slurred. He'd been drinking. "I need to talk to you." "Travis, there's a restraining order. You shouldn't be here." "I know. I don't care." He pushed past me into the house. He reeked of whiskey. I should have called the police immediately. Instead, I closed the door. "What do you want?" Travis stumbled into my living room and collapsed onto the couch. He put his head in his hands. "It's all wrong. Everything's wrong. I didn't know it would go this far. You're trying to have me committed. You're trying to steal everything I have." "That's Amber." He looked up, and I saw tears streaming down his face. "It's always Amber. She has this plan. She and Douglas, they're planning to have you declared permanently incompetent. They want to put you in a nursing home and take everything." I told her it was too much, that we should stop, but she said it's too late now. My heart was pounding. "Douglas Crane is your lawyer. He's sleeping with her, Dad. I found out 2 days ago. Found texts on her phone. They've been together for months. The baby." He broke down, sobbing. "She told me last night the baby isn't mine. It's his." I sat down across from him, stunned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I just wanted help, just needed money to get back on my feet. And Amber said you owed it to me, that you'd kept me down my whole life. She made it all make sense, and I believed her. But it's gone too far. I can't do this anymore." "Then stop. Drop the lawsuit. Tell the truth." Travis shook his head. "I can't. Amber says if I back out now, she'll tell the court I've been abusing her. She'll claim I forced her into everything. She has fake evidence ready. She'll destroy me." "So you're going to let her destroy me instead?" "I don't know what to do." He was shouting now, standing up, agitated. "I'm trapped. If I tell the truth, I lose everything. If I keep lying, I lose you. Either way, I'm finished." Before I could respond, headlights swept across my front window. A car pulled into my driveway. Amber. She burst through my still unlocked front door, her face twisted with rage. "What are you doing here?" she screamed at Travis. "I told you not to come here. You're ruining everything." "I'm done, Amber. I can't do this anymore." "Yes, you can and you will." She turned to me, her expression calculating. "Reginald, Travis and I are leaving now. We were never here. If you tell anyone about this conversation, I'll deny it. And tomorrow in court, we're going to finish this." "Get out of my house," I said quietly. "Not without Travis." She grabbed his arm. Travis pulled away. I said, "I'm done." Amber's face contorted. Then, to my horror, she started screaming. "He's attacking me! He's attacking us! What are you doing?" Travis backed away from her. She grabbed a lamp and smashed it on the floor. She scratched her own face, drawing blood. She tore her own shirt. "Stop!" I shouted. "Someone call the police!" Amber screamed at the top of her lungs. "He's attacking us! Help!" Lights came on in neighboring houses. My neighbor stepped out onto his porch across the street. Amber ran outside, still screaming, blood running down her cheek. "He attacked me! Please, someone call 911. Within minutes, police sirens wailed in the distance. I stood frozen in my doorway, Travis beside me, both of us in shock at what Amber had just done. 2 police officers arrived, a male officer named Garcia and a female officer named Thompson. Amber ran to them, crying hysterically, pointing at me. "He attacked us. He grabbed me and hit me. Look at my face." Officer Garcia approached me. "Sir, I need you to step outside." I didn't touch her. She did that to herself. That's not what she's saying. Sir, I need you to turn around and put your hands behind your back. Dad didn't do anything. Travis finally spoke up. Amber scratched herself. I saw her do it. Amber whirled on him. He's confused. Reginald threatened us both. Travis is just scared. Officer Thompson examined Amber's face and torn shirt. Officer Garcia looked at me with a mixture of pity and duty. Sir, I'm sorry, but I have to take you in based on the complaint and visible injuries. He handcuffed me. The metal was cold against my wrists. My blood pressure spiked so high I felt dizzy. My chest tightened. I need my medication, I gasped. Blood pressure, kitchen counter. Officer Thompson retrieved my pills. They let me take them, but then I was placed in the back of the police car. The neighbors watched from their porches as I was driven away. The humiliation was overwhelming. At the police station, I was booked for domestic assault. Fingerprints, photographs, the whole degrading process. My blood pressure was dangerously high. The station nurse took multiple readings, concerned. We should take him to the hospital, she told the officers. After booking, Patricia arrived around midnight with bail money. But the damage was done. I had an arrest record now. In the morning's hearing, I would look like exactly what Amber claimed, a violent, unstable old man. Patricia drove me home in silence. It was after 1 a.m. I felt broken. We can still fight this, Patricia said as we pulled into my driveway. How? I'm now officially a criminal. You're accused, not convicted. And we have Travis's statement that Amber hurt herself. His word against hers. And he's been lying about me for months. Why would anyone believe him now? We sat in her car in my driveway. I could see yellow police tape still cordoning off part of my porch where evidence had been collected. Tomorrow, I present everything. The affair, the background check, all of it. We expose Amber completely. It won't matter. The judge sees an old man arrested for domestic violence. It's over. No. Patricia's voice was firm. It's not over until you say it is. Get some sleep. Tomorrow we fight. Inside my empty house, I sat in the darkness. Everything hurt. My chest, my head, my heart. I thought about Travis's tears, about his confession that he was trapped. Part of me still loved my son. Part of me wanted to save him from Amber. But mostly, I felt tired. So tired. I looked at Margaret's photo on the mantel. I don't know if I can do this, I whispered to her image. Then I remembered her journal entry. Fight for what's right. Don't give up. I went to my bedroom and took out a notepad. I wrote down everything that had happened that evening. Travis's confession. Amber's self-inflicted injuries. Every detail I could remember. If this was going to be my last fight, I'd fight with everything I had. At 3 a.m, I called Patricia. I'm not giving up. Tomorrow, we go nuclear. We present everything and force Travis to choose sides publicly. All or nothing. That's the spirit. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be a war. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. But I was ready. The courtroom was packed the next morning. Word had spread about my arrest. I could feel the eyes on me as I walked in with Patricia. Travis and Amber sat at their table. Amber had a bandage on her cheek and was dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Douglas Crane looked confident. Judge Brennan entered, and the hearing began. Douglas Crane immediately brought up my arrest. Your Honor, the events of last night demonstrate exactly why immediate intervention is necessary. Mr. Wilkins violently attacked his daughter-in-law in his home. The police report and photographs speak for themselves. Judge Brennan looked at me with obvious concern. This is very serious, Mr. Wilkins. Patricia stood. Your Honor, before we proceed, the defense would like to present evidence regarding the plaintiff's credibility and motivations. Proceed. Patricia called Carl Jennings to the stand. He laid out everything methodically. Amber's affair with Douglas Crane, the hotel records, the photographs. The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Douglas Crane jumped to his feet. Objection. This is character assassination and irrelevant to the matter at hand. It's highly relevant, Patricia countered. It shows a pattern of deception and establishes that the plaintiff's attorney has a severe conflict of interest due to his romantic relationship with the plaintiff's wife. Judge Brennan's expression hardened as she studied the photos. Mr. Crane, is this true? Your Honor, my personal life has no bearing on this case. Your personal life involves an intimate relationship with your client's wife. That absolutely has bearing. Continue, Miss Donnelly. Patricia presented Amber's full background: the previous marriage to Harold Winters, his suspicious death, the inheritance, the pattern of targeting vulnerable men and their families. Then she played the bombshell: audio recordings Carl had obtained legally through surveillance. Amber and Douglas discussing their plan to get the old man's money and work the system. Amber's voice came through the speakers crystal clear. "Once we get him committed, Travis gets power of attorney. Then we slowly transfer everything. By the time anyone figures it out, the money's gone." Douglas's voice. "And Travis?" Amber's laugh. "He's useful now. Once we have the money, I'll divorce him and we'll split it. He'll be too afraid of going to jail to say anything." The courtroom was silent. Travis sat frozen, his face white. Patricia continued. "The forensic analysis of the forged letter from Margaret, Dr. Foster's disciplinary history and reputation for paid false testimony, the paid witnesses in the emergency petition, the gambling debts, the credit card fraud. Each revelation hit like a hammer blow. Finally, Patricia addressed the previous night's incident. "Your Honor, Travis Wilkins was present last night. I'd like to call him to testify about what actually happened." Travis looked at Amber. She was staring at him with an expression that was half threat, half desperation. "Mr. Wilkins," Judge Brennan said, "please take the stand." Travis stood slowly. He walked to the witness stand like a man heading to his execution. After being sworn in, he sat down and wouldn't look at anyone. "Mr. Wilkins," Patricia said gently, "tell the court what happened last night." Travis was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, he started talking. "I went to my father's house drunk. I wanted to warn him about what Amber and Douglas were planning. Amber followed me there. When she realized I was going to tell my father the truth, she started screaming. She scratched her own face. She tore her own shirt. She broke the lamp. Then she ran outside and told the neighbors my father had attacked her." "That's a lie," Amber shouted from her seat. "Order!" Judge Brennan slammed her gavel. Travis continued, tears streaming down his face. "Everything in this lawsuit is a lie. My father never showed signs of dementia. He never abused anyone. Amber convinced me he owed me everything, that he'd held me back my whole life. She made it all sound so reasonable. But it was all manipulation." "Why are you lying now?" Amber screamed. "Tell them the truth." Travis finally looked at her. "I am telling the truth. For the first time in months, I'm telling the truth." He turned to me. "Dad, I'm so sorry. I was weak and stupid and greedy. I let Amber convince me to betray you. I helped her try to steal everything you and Mom built. I lied about you in court. I destroyed your reputation. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know I'm sorry." I couldn't speak. My throat was too tight. Judge Brennan's face was stern. "Mr. Crane, given the evidence presented, do you have anything to say?" Douglas Crane gathered his materials. "I'm withdrawing from this case, Your Honor." "You'll do more than that. I'm referring this matter to the State Bar for investigation into your conduct. Bailiff, please escort Mr. Crane from the courtroom." As Crane was let out, he shot Amber a look of pure hatred. She sat alone at the plaintiff's table, her calculated facade crumbling. Judge Brennan turned to Amber. "Mrs. Wilkins, based on the evidence of fraud, perjury, conspiracy, and identity theft presented here today, I'm ordering you taken into custody." "This is insane." Amber jumped up. "You can't do this to me. I'm pregnant. That old man is dangerous. He tried to kill me." Two bailiffs moved toward her. She tried to run but was quickly restrained. She fought and screamed as she was handcuffed. "You'll all regret this. Travis, you're a weak, pathetic coward. Reginald, I hope you die alone. All of you will pay." She was dragged from the courtroom, still screaming threats and curses. Judge Brennan took a deep breath and turned to me. "Mr. Wilkins, I apologize for what you've endured. All charges against you are dismissed. The restraining order is lifted. The conservatorship is dissolved immediately. Your accounts will be unfrozen today. I'm also dismissing the underlying petition for conservatorship with prejudice, meaning it cannot be refiled." The relief was so overwhelming I couldn't breathe. "Furthermore, I'm ordering the court to investigate the fraudulent documents and false testimony. Criminal charges will likely follow." Patricia put her hand on my shoulder. We'd won. After the hearing, Travis approached me in the courthouse hallway. He looked broken, years older than his 32 years. "Dad, I know I don't deserve anything from you, but But I need to say this. I'm going to get help. Therapy. I'm going to figure out how I became this person. And if you ever want to talk to me again, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm sorry. I studied my son's face. I saw genuine remorse, genuine shame, but I also saw the wreckage of trust that might never be fully rebuilt. I need time, Travis. What you did, I don't know if I can forgive it. I understand. He wiped his eyes. I'll wait as long as it takes. Over the following months, the legal consequences unfolded. Amber was prosecuted on multiple charges: fraud, perjury, conspiracy, identity theft, and filing false police reports. She was convicted and sentenced to 6 years in prison. Douglas Crane's law license was suspended indefinitely. Dr. Raymond Foster faced criminal charges for perjury and lost his medical license. Travis divorced Amber while she was awaiting trial. A paternity test confirmed the baby was Douglas Crane's, not Travis's. Travis entered intensive therapy and eventually found a job as an assistant manager at a local sporting goods store. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest work. He asked to meet with me monthly. I agreed, though the early meetings were awkward and painful. We sat across from each other at a diner, struggling to find words. But slowly, very slowly, something began to rebuild. Not the relationship we'd had, but something new, something more honest. I attended therapy too. The trauma of those months had left scars. I had nightmares about courtrooms and handcuffs. I struggled with trust. But my therapist, a kind woman named Janet, helped me process everything. I reconnected with friends once the truth came out. Walter, my golf buddy, apologized profusely for doubting me. Sharon from church organized a dinner in my honor. My neighbors stopped treating me like a pariah. I also found new purpose. I contacted elder advocacy groups and began speaking at community centers about financial elder abuse and manipulation. I shared my story to help others recognize the warning signs. The work was meaningful in a way my accounting career never had been. One afternoon, about 14 months after the hearing, Travis and I were having lunch at our regular diner. He'd been sober for a year, had gotten a promotion at work, and was slowly paying off his debts. "How's the new apartment?" I asked. "Good. Small, but it's mine. I'm managing my money better now." Janet helped me set up a budget. We ate in comfortable silence for a moment. Then Travis spoke again. "Dad, I've been thinking about what Mom would say about all this. She'd be disappointed in both of us," I said honestly. "Disappointed in you for what you did. Disappointed in me for not seeing it coming or handling it better. But she'd also be proud that we're trying to fix it. Maybe. Your mother always believed in second chances." After lunch, Travis walked me to my car. Before I got in, he hugged me. It was brief and awkward, but it was real. "Thanks for not giving up on me completely," he said. "You're still my son. That doesn't change, even when everything else does." Driving home, I thought about everything I'd learned. I'd learned that love sometimes means setting boundaries and saying no. I'd learned that protecting yourself isn't selfish when people are trying to harm you. I'd learned that family relationships require honesty and respect, not just blood connection. Most importantly, I'd learned that I was stronger than I thought. When everything was stripped away, when I was at my lowest point, I'd found the strength to keep fighting. Margaret would have been proud. At home, I put Margaret's photos back on the walls, exactly where they'd been. Her jewelry was secure in the bedroom safe, ready to be passed down to grandchildren if Travis ever had any. Her grandmother's china sat safely in the cabinet. I'd made a new will with proper safeguards and established a trust. I'd set aside money for Travis, but with conditions tied to his continued recovery and therapy. If he stayed on the right path, he'd eventually inherit. But I'd protected myself from future manipulation. I stood in my living room, looking at the life Margaret and I had built together. It was still mine. I'd fought for it and won. The experience had changed me. I was more cautious now, more aware of people's motivations. But I wasn't bitter. I'd seen the worst of human nature in my own son, but I'd also seen his capacity for change and genuine remorse. As I sat down that evening with a cup of coffee, I thought about others going through similar situations. How many elderly people were being manipulated by family members right now? How many were too embarrassed or scared to fight back? That's why I kept speaking publicly about my experience. If my story could help even one person recognize the warning signs or find the courage to resist, then maybe something good had come from all the pain. I picked up my phone and looked at a text from Travis. "Thanks for lunch today, Dad. Same time next month?" I typed back. Same time. It wasn't perfect reconciliation. Maybe it never would be, but it was progress. And sometimes, progress is enough. What would you do if you discovered a family member was trying to steal everything you'd worked for? Would you fight back? Or would you try to find a peaceful resolution? Have you ever experienced betrayal from someone close to you? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button, subscribe to hear more stories like this one, and share this with anyone who might need to hear it. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope my story helps you recognize that standing up for yourself is never wrong, and that even in our darkest moments, we can find the strength to fight for what's right. Take care of yourselves, and remember that you're stronger than you think.